Hey, thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. I'm glad you made it. The CBO is rubbing me the wrong way. CBO is the Congressional Budget Office, and although they say they don't make recommendations, which is the weirdest thing in the world, they just provide options, is what they do. So they provide options to Congress on ways that Congress can reduce the deficit, right? Reduce spending or play a shell game, right? Instead of spending on this, you can spend on this over here if you take this money and use it over there, right? So there has been several suggestions back in the middle of December, and I'm sharing it with you here today, that are, quite frankly, on the back of veterans, which is a horrible way to try to, reduce the deficit, if you will. With that, I'll give you the headline and then we'll get ready to jump into it. So it says here, introduce means testing for eligibility for veterans disability compensation. Now, let me tell you this. First of all, number one, VA compensation is not means tested, and it shouldn't be. There's a whole other program out there, a benefit from the VA for veterans and surviving spouses called VA pension. VA pension is a low and no income means tested benefit that's already available. We have two different benefits for veterans: disability compensation, which should not be means tested, and then we have pension, which is means tested. So let's dive into why they want to introduce means testing for eligibility into VA compensation. Hit the thumbs up, subscribe, share with a friend, all that good stuff. I really appreciate it. Every thumbs up, every minute watched helps to spread this information, which is really the name of the game. I suggest reaching out with a blanket statement to your congressional member via email, a letter, swing by, talk to their staffer who deals with the VA, and let them know, hey, look, I'm aware, I'm veteran so-and-so, or I'm spouse so-and-so, or I'm just constituent X. And I'm aware of several options proposed by the VA, or not VA, CBO, by the CBO that impact the VA and subsequently veterans. And I am opposed to any negative actions taken against veterans. So I hope that you're on board with protecting veterans' benefits, right? Something just blanket statement is probably just good enough. Really, do we think that any of this stuff's going to take effect today? Probably not. But it's good to show that we're paying attention for a whole multitude of reasons. Whether it's a new piece of legislation that comes out or whatever, it's good that your elected official knows that you are watching. All right. CBO periodically issues a compendium of policy options called Options for Reducing the Deficit, covering a broad range of issues as well as separate reports that include options for changing federal tax and spending policies in particular areas. This option appears in one of those publications. The options are derived from many sources and reflect a range of possibilities. For each option, CBO presents an estimate of its effects on the budget and makes no recommendations. Inclusion or exclusion of any part of any particular option does not imply an endorsement or rejection by CBO. All right. Couple paragraphs here on this, and again, the title, Introduce Means Testing for Eligibility for VA Disability Compensation. All right. Veterans with medical conditions or injuries that occurred or worsened during active duty service may receive disability compensation from the Department of Veterans Affairs. Payments are structured differently than other disability programs. VA disability payments are intended to compensate for the average earnings that veterans would be expected to lose given the severity of their service-connected medical conditions or injuries. Whether or not a particular veteran's condition reduced his or her earnings. I hate that they keep throwing that out there because, one, you don't know how much it's impossible to go back in time and go, if you had none of those conditions that are service connected, would you make more money today? Where would have your life taken you? Where would you have been? Would have you made more? Would have you made less? Right? It's impossible to tell, right? It's a fallacy to think you can. And number two, everything that I read always focuses on the here and now. How much are you earning? Is there a gap? Yes or no? You can't look at it that way. Your earning capacity as a veteran is not only how much you're making today. You can make $300,000 today. Good for you. But how long can you do that? Can you do it as long as you would have been able to do that, barring your conditions, right? So if you had no service-connected conditions, would you be able to make good money for a longer period of time? Or because of your service-connected conditions, your timeline of earnings has been shortened? So that is the real question, right? So you can't say that just because somebody can make money today does not mean that they're going to make the same lifetime amount of money. So they can take this and shove it for all I care. All right, moving on. I really don't like that they add that. It's so frustrating. All right, I'm going to read it again because it's irritating. VA's disability payments are intended to compensate for the average earnings that veterans would be expected to lose given the severity of their service-connected medical conditions or injuries, whether or not a particular veteran's condition reduced his or her earnings. It's annoying. Unlike disability programs such as Social Security disability insurance, payments are unaffected by a veteran's earnings or other types of income. And again, you said it yourself, CBO, that it's because it is taking into consideration the earning capacity of the veteran. And earning capacity is two things: how much today and how long, right? The lifetime earning. I could make a ton of money today. Doesn't mean that I'm going to be able to push through as long as I would have been. So it's an impossible riddle to figure out, and therefore you have to stand down. All right. Under this option, VA would means test, that is, restrict full compensation to those with income below a certain amount. All current and prospective recipients of VA's disability compensation. Beginning January 2026, veterans with service-related disabilities and total household income below $135,000, excluding disability income from the VA, would receive full benefits. Here's the kicker: household income. You're married and your spouse is making money. Well, guess what? It's going to be a even more steep hill for you to climb. That threshold corresponds with the 70th percentile of household income in the United States in 2022. Adjusted for inflation to reach the threshold value applicable to 2026 benefits, CBO estimates that nearly 30% of veterans receiving disability payments from VA will have a household income above the threshold in 2026. So they're saying 30% of veterans would make too much money in their household. Even if you didn't work and your spouse worked and made good money, you're screwed. All right. So after 2026, the income threshold would rise with the Consumer Price Index for urban wage earners and clerical workers. Above the threshold, benefits would be phased out at a constant rate. For every additional $2 of gross household income, disability compensation would decrease by $1. Horrific. All right, thanks for watching. I appreciate you. Have a great one. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.